Hey guys, how are you? So this is the editorial analysis of newspapers for today, Sunday. That is 5th of February 2017. Generally, not much is there on in newspapers on Sundays. So it gives us a little leverage to cover articles from different sources. So today, there was anything. There was nothing actually in the Hindu, not even on the that famous page, which always covers the information related to the antibiotic resistance or health related information, and nothing much in Indian Express or Live Mint as well. So today is 5th of February 2017, and this will be presented to you by me, Dipanshu Singh. You can follow me on Academy on this link and do rate, review, and recommend the course. So today we'll be covering these two interesting articles from the Down to Earth magazine, as we have been covering like from EPW, Down to Earth, etc. So these two are very important articles. One is related to pollution and pet coke and furnace oil and their misuse, and what's their contribution in increasing the level of pollution in Delhi. Apart from that, Naga tribal bodies are actually protesting against reservation for women in the local bodies, so it becomes important for women's empowerment issue, and as such for GS1 and GS2 paper. So the first article, and no practice question for today, guys. I know, so you guys must be expecting a practice question, but then take a little. We have been practicing a lot of these questions daily, and so take a little break today and relax a little bit. So we'll start again the practice question for tomorrow onwards. So the first article talks about the undisclosed disclosed air pollutants, part of GS3 paper, will help in environment related concepts. So how furnace oil and pet coke are actually choking us, as the policies have failed us to stay ahead of the underground developments. So if you look at the concentrated solar power plants, why they were not that much of viable, because even after solar prices have declined and have crashed, and government is really keen to subsidize and incentivize this growth of clean energy with the renewable energy plan of 100 gigawatts, 170 gigawatts, of which 100 gigawatts is just solar energy. So in spite of that, solar prices have crashed, but then there is no still impetus to the solar energy in areas like developed metropolitans, in spite of the fact that we have now the world's biggest solar plant in the world. So the concerning issue is that the solar prices have crashed. Apart from that, the prices of oil and today's cheap furnace oil is also crashed. So the cheap furnace oil is used is being used a lot in these areas, specifically the rural areas or the peri-urban areas surrounding these urban conglomerates. So the furnace oil is basically the bottom of the barrel product. It is the last grade of the oil that refineries produce. So why there's a problem with using this oil is because it is high in sulfur and so is highly polluting. And what are the causes of high pollution in and around Delhi NCR? So there's no clarity, but then way back in 1996, the Delhi Pollution Control Committee had notified a list of acceptable fuels, but this did not include these furnace oil, but it did say that the fuel with low sulfur, in those defined as 18,000 parts per million of sulfur, could be used. But then diesel only has 50 ppm of sulfur, and these have a lot of sulfur content, which increases and aggravates the situation of air pollution in Delhi and NCR. So the furnace oil was indeed being sold in the National Capital Region as per the study by these researchers, and the data also showed that much more was being sold in the current year over the last year, and all the public sector oil companies sold this furnace oil, but only Reliance Industries sold this specifically in Delhi. So what these big MNCs do, they basically use this furnace oil in this industry to generate power, or in their furnaces, simply because it was very cheap. And the price of FO, this furnace oil, is deliberately kept lower than the natural gas by the governments, and its key substitute, which is much cleaner. And then FO, these are also exempted from the state tax, but then gas is heavily taxed. Apart from that, worst situation is that the power is surplus. The power is surplusly available in this region, but apart from that, the coal and gas plants are working roughly at only their 20% of the capacity, which could have been utilized in a better way. And electricity supply is unreliable because of the mess in distribution, and then its price is higher than the cheap, furnace oil. So the issue of availability of power is not the main concern. The availability of power is not because the plants are not working properly. Obviously, they're not working for their full capacity, but they have the potential. The problem is with the public distribution companies and their problems and their funds and their debts. So that is why the cities are facing the problem of electricity. Now, the other component, the other polluting agent is pet coke. So this is a byproduct of refineries with high calorific value, burns with high amount of energy. So while it is being more expensive than coal, but it is very cheaper to use, but is highly polluting. So there can be a potential question in prelims: what are the qualities of pet coke? There can be multiple choices, whether it's more expensive, whether it's more cheaper, and why it is easier to use. But there are also no specification for this fuel, and nobody has a clue what is, where it is being consumed. Apart from that, is also being dumped by China, and China is imposing restraints on its domestic use because of pollution. So they are basically dumping it in India and other parts of the world. And apart from that, import data confirms this, because India has imported some 7 million tons in just 5 months, as against 10 million in 2015 and 16. Now, the shocking results, there was a lab test which revealed some shocking results, because the sulfur in this furnace oil is between 15,000 to 20,000 ppm, and in pet coke is from 69,000 to 74,000 parts per million. Can you imagine, the number, how much amount of damage this will cause to the environment, and environmental, and increase the problem of environmental pollution. If you compare it with diesel, diesel just contains 50 ppm of sulfur, and that amount is sufficient in Delhi and areas like NCR or other big cities to cause enough problem pollution. And even after all the treatment devices in our cars, it continues to pollute the diesel. And coal burning power plants like Badalpur has only 1,000 ppm of sulfur. The pollution potential of these fuels is obviously deadly compared to the numbers, 15,000, 69,000. But the problem is that the fact there's no control nor any standards of sulfur emission, because which is a gas, but it also gets converted into particulates with air moisture interaction. There was a study by IIT Kanpur on Delhi's air pollution, which estimated that 20 to 25% of winter pollution was from the secondary particles, that is sulfur and nitrogen dioxide. So what needs to be done? So first and foremost is that first you need to notify the list of acceptable fuels that can be used, and this is not just for Delhi but all over India, but also the entire NCR region, where this cheap furnace oil and pet coke are being used, and they're also being promoted by state because they are kept at a very low price. And this will also ban the use of highly polluting fuels like FO, that is furnace oil and pet coke. Simultaneously, also the government can control and unrestricted import of pet coke, because it is mostly used in cement manufacture where pollution is controlled. Then obviously incentivize clean fuels, renewable energy, and then further regulate these underground developments, because there are many other fuels like C9 to CBFS that are still used with no specification and no clearance, and without much regulation from the state governments, which is increasing the problem of their misuse and the air pollution in Delhi and NCR region. Now, the other is about the protest by Nagaland tribal groups against reservation for women in local bodies. So what these women rights activists have to say is that it shows the unwillingness of tribal bodies to share power. So the background is that the protest erupted in Nagaland after its government actually refused to revoke the decision to reserve 33% seats for women in upcoming civic body polls. As you know, our constitution also mandates reservation of women in the urban local bodies and Panchayati Raj institutions. Apart from that, there are certain special cases for these tribal areas under the 5th and 6th schedule. So curfew was imposed amid protest and election in 32 municipal bodies, and that would be declared null and void. So why is the issue? Because these influential tribal people have been demanding the cancellation of women's reservation and warned its citizens against participating in the urban bodies elections. One of their tribe group like O Sengdon, a body of O tribe of Nagaland, issued diktat in local dailies asking people not to even participate and warning of appropriate punishment if they do so. And Angami Public Organization, which is also one of the tribal groups, has also announced boycott of the election, stating that the reservation is against the tribal customs. Now, the protesters believe that the reservation is against their customary law and also violates the special rights which is guaranteed to them by the Nagaland state under the Article 371A of the Constitutions. So what this article says that it states that notwithstanding anything in this Constitution, no act of Parliament in respect of religious or social practice of the Nagas, Naga customary law and procedure, administration of civil and criminal justice involving decisions according to Naga customary law, ownership and transfer of land and its resources shall apply to the state of Nagaland unless the Legislative Assembly of Nagaland by resolution so decides. So unless the the assembly decides that it cannot come into force. Now, the problem is first we have to look at the history of the case. Now, women in Nagaland have been, fighting for the representations and, asking for, the reservations in municipal and town councils. And they had also taken a legal course for the actions. And there's an association by the name of Naga Mothers Association, which has been demanding reservations in local bodies for the past 3 years. But then the state authorities have been denying it by not holding elections, citing Naga customs and possible violence, which could actually derail the ongoing peace process between the government and the Naga rebel groups. So the matter has now reached the Supreme Court after this association challenged the Guwahati High Court ruling, and the Apex Court ruled in favor of this in April 2016. Now there is a special relief petition filed in the Supreme Court, which claims that the protest was on account of certain changes in the land laws in the Nagaland Municipal Act of 2001, and it is not due to reservation of seats for women. So first, there was a Guwahati High Court ruling which favored the Naga tribals, and then it was challenged in Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled in the favor of these the women's reservation. But now again, a special relief petition will be filed against this order in the Supreme Court by the Naga tribal groups. So this basically reflects the problem of deep-rooted patriarchal mindset. If you remember, we covered a similar article comparing the patrilineal and matrilineal societies of Nagaland and Meghalaya. So you can watch that video summary from the month of January. So basically, groups are saying they are against the amended provision of the Municipal Act, which were not in accordance with the article of the Indian Constitution that protects their customary rights of Naga tribe, because they say this has not been passed. No act of parliament can come into force in Nagaland until the Legislative Assembly approves that. So if you look at, reservations are not new for women of Nagaland. There's already a reservation policy, a 1/4 reservation for them in the Village Development Board since 1989 under Section 50 of the Nagaland Village and Area Council Act. So the main problem is the sharing of the power and unevenness about the huge funds and share of power with the women among the Naga tribals, obviously of their patriarchal mindset in the state. So can you link this issue with the women empowerment, Panchayati Raj institutions and the urban local bodies, which can be useful in your GS1 and GS2 answers. So this is it for this video, guys. We'll start the practice question again from tomorrow onwards. So relax a bit today, enjoy your Sunday. So till next video, I hope you have a good day. Thank you so much.